This is a conversation with Cole Fortman, a fellow low-code developer who's widely known in the community for doing, yes, awesome work in no code, but also educating users from all walks of life on the benefits of using no code in their day-to-day work. Without any further ado, let's get stuck in. If you're ready, I'm ready. I've got a bunch of interesting things to ask and get your perspective on. And as I started as I've started doing recently, I've got a quick fire round of questions that I want to shoot your way and see what you think. Ready?
Yeah, totally. I love it. I love the energy.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's go. First things first, coffee or tea to start your day?
Coffee.
Awesome. Favorite productivity hack?
Phone not in the room ever.
Ooh, interesting. Books or podcasts for learning? Or favorite books?
I say books for actually learning, podcasts for like feeling like I'm learning, just to be productive.
Okay, cool. Best advice you've ever received?
That's a good one. Don't worry.
Nice. Favorite no-code tool?
Airtable.
Cool. Wicked. Okay.
Yeah.
I've also written out my answers to these questions.
Yeah.
So I'll shoot them as well. So coffee or tea? Iced coffee for me.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite productivity hack? ChatUML. ChatUML, diagram creator that uses like AI basically, and it creates like schema. You can also use Mermaid.js. They've got that, but ChatUML much cheaper and like minimalist, but designs very nice diagrams, and you can like work with it. Books and podcasts. My favorite one, and it's been for a while, it's Secret Leaders. I mean, of course, books are great, and they have timeless value. But I think in terms of podcasts, Secret Leaders definitely super inspiring, super insightful. Then best advice. Okay, this is but it's true. Nobody's fault but mine. Led Zeppelin's song has taught me
Great
a lot.
song.
Yeah, nobody's fault but mine, because you can't blame anybody for other than yourself for the good stuff and for the bad stuff. We'll get into that neighborhood shortly. Favorite no-code tool? I can't choose. Airtable, Noloco, Make. I can't pull the trigger. I thought about it long and hard, and I just can't. Okay.
It's tough.
So, origin story. This is a very typical segment in these interviews, and usually I just go through your LinkedIn page, your YouTube, and all of that. And you, in particular, you're unique in terms of your LinkedIn CV. I've noticed that you like to do a lot of things at the same time. I don't know how accurate your LinkedIn CV is, but at least right now, it shows that you're busy with 6 different projects, including, and I quote, the grilled cheese dude on Instagram. So the question here is, are you like allergic to sitting still for a moment? Like, what's the story?
I just have really powerful ADHD, I would say. That's the short-term answer. But long-term, I do need to update some of those LinkedIn experiences. Some of them I am still working on. Some of them are more just passion projects.
Okay.
So yeah, I do have as far as like origin story goes, it was not very linear, as you can imagine. It was more just, hey, I'm gonna try this thing now. And then somehow I wound up doing another thing, and then kind of just ping pong until we got to where we are now. So, long story short, when I'm going to take it way back to high school. So when I was in high school, I was always Googling different things like how to make money online, how to make $1 million online, how to make money without college, all that kind of stuff. And I found drop shipping, affiliate marketing, all these different making money online kind of
ways.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know what you call them, but I tried all of them. Didn't make any money with them.
Oh,
made like
really?
maybe $30 total with like I think affiliate marketing, just trying to like spam affiliate links and like YouTube comments. For a few months I was doing
Yeah.
that. But doing all that kind of gave me, I think, a very, very general basis of like how internet businesses work, how marketing
Hmm.
works, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and do like websites, just simple websites for people, and then try to see if I can make money doing that. And
Okay.
I got a few projects from like friends and family, stuff like that. Nothing really like consistent or regular, like big 5, 10, K projects, like all like anything under $500. That was kind of like what I was doing for a few months. But one day, I had a friend ask me for what was a client portal, but they asked for a website. They're like, I want a website that my clients can log into and do stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem, I'll build it. And I didn't even really think about it or like how hard it'd be or like what I would need or anything. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure I can figure it out.
Yeah, of
So
course. We always do, right?
exactly.
Get your
And
foot in the door.
that's when I learned what a portal was, like what the difference between a portal and a website was, or like what even like static dynamic was. And that's through all my Googling for that project, I had found Software and Airtable. And at that time, Software was like a few weeks old. It had just launched, like just hit the market. So I was one of the first customers to, I guess, sign up and start using it regularly. So for
Mhm.
that project, I learned everything I could and just kind of like speed ran building it with like Google, YouTube, everything.
Yeah,
Gareth was coming out with his videos,
of course.
so shout out to Gareth, Gap Consulting. And in 10 days, they had a full functioning client portal, and I was paid. And I was like, wow, I should do more of these. These seem
Did you
like
maintain it afterwards, or like what happened?
no, it was like, I mean, like very basic maintenance for a few months, but nothing, no like retainer deals, nothing like
Okay,
that,
all right.
because it's her friend. But yeah, after that, I just kind of was like, all right, I'm gonna reposition my entire online brand to be Nocode, Airtable, software, all that stuff, because I could I had a feeling. I was like, all right, I think this is like the first wave of something big coming, and this was like 2021, so
Mhm.
like right after COVID and all that stuff. So I was kind of just looking for anything to kind of, I don't know, new venture, because
Yeah.
with the grilled cheese stuff, as you may have seen, like I was doing grilled cheese. I was working as a private grilled cheese chef in Chicago. So people would message me on
That's
Instagram
cool.
saying, "Hey, Cole, I want 4 or 5 grilled cheeses for this event I'm throwing, or not event, but like I'm having some people over. Can you come over and make some grilled cheese?" And I would bike to their house or apartment with a griddle and ingredients, everything, and I would make them grilled cheese right there on the spot, and I just do that all day
Freaking awesome.
around Chicago for a few years. So that was super fun. I actually almost opened a ghost kitchen. I was like talking to investors and stuff, but COVID hit, and then one of the investors, he wanted
Mhm.
to, there was whole thing, the
Yeah,
deal
it
didn't go
became much
through.
harder.
Yep, exactly. So I kind of was like, all right, this is gonna be a side project now. Let's try to see what else we can do,
Mhm.
and that's kind of what led me to no code.
I see. Well, and this is an interesting segue because I kind of at this point would like to see to kind of like dig in deeper into the agency now and who you are today. Now, obviously, the no code scene has evolved quite a lot since, I mean, 20. For me, the sort of the beginning was things like SurveyMonkey, Wufoo,
Mm-hmm.
Zapier at its infancy, 2013, 2014, 2015. That's where I was like heavy into Zapier, and we could only build like a single zap, not a single zap, but you could build multiple zaps, but you could only do like 2 steps.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy to think right now, but there was a time when you could only like hook up SurveyMonkey to your, I don't know, to sending you an email or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. That was it. So obviously things have evolved at a crazy rapid pace. As an agency owner right now, what do you feel like is the biggest challenge for anybody to start right now?
I think that's a good question. I think for me, one of the things I was dealing with when I first started was shiny object syndrome. So I didn't want to learn only one tool and become a master at it. I wanted to learn every single tool ever so that I could become a listed expert for that tool so I could get more leads. And I was like, oh, I'll just become an expert in everything so that I can get leads from all the different expert programs. Yeah. And then I realized, oh, wait, like a lot of these tools are very, very in depth and would require me to spend way more time to like actually become an expert in that one tool versus like trying to be, I think so. That's one thing. So people, when I'm like, when I talk to people who are starting out, or like whenever I talk to friends and family who are like, hey, I'm thinking about doing what you're trying to do, Cole. How can I get started? I'll tell them like with Nocode, there's 2 branches. Like the first fork in the road you hit is where you want to pick your stack. So some people tend to lean towards an all-in-one kind of stack, like Bubble or like WeWeb, and Flutterflow is not super like that, but it's like still back and front end. But yeah, like those tools, or they are more of a kind of pick your stack together sort of thing, where it's like Airtable, Softer, Glide, Noloco, all those different front end, back end automation tools that they're kind of just putting together into their own version of it. And that's kind of where I lean. So I think that's the first big decision people need to make is, what's my stack going to be? And then just sticking with that stack. Exactly. Focusing on that stack and becoming really, really good at that stack, because you can build anything with most tools now. So people aren't really like, oh, can this tool do this thing? It's like, hey, can you do this thing with these tools?
You do. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's such a powerful thing. Forget about the tool. Can you, using the tool and your knowledge, build XYZ? Like this reminds me of Stacker, probably the granddaddy
of
all of these portal tools. I mean, it used to be called Air Portal, and I remember our first project was like I remember the first one we ever did was in. I remember dealing with a client from the US while I was on the trip to Israel to see some clients. And I was just like trying to figure out Air Portal, aka Stacker, back then. And to this day, Stacker is one of those tools that you have to be a master at workarounds. Yes, you can build it, but it doesn't give you all the colors that you would like to have. You can, but you have to like be really creative and almost know the tool to its limit so that you can push beyond that limit, given the very few ingredients that you have. So super, super important thing you just said. It's not about the tool, it's what can you do.
Exactly. Like a client will be like, hey, can we do this thing? And then the short answer is, well, yeah, like the short answer is yes, but with a lot of ifs, a lot of if ands, or a lot, it's like yes, but a lot of work. It's like, when you're like driving, and there's a toll road, on the highway, or you just go out and take like the country roads to avoid the tolls. That's kind of how I explain features sometimes, where it's like, hey, can we build this feature? And I'm like, all right, we could build this feature, but you would need this or this tool or like this feature, like these things set up like this, or you do it this other way that takes a really long and complicated other process. I was like, there's never a yes, it's one button click, we can do that.
Straight, yeah. It's never super straight.
Nah.
How do you approach building trust with clients, especially the ones that are kind of skeptical about Nocode?
So for those instances where people are like, hey, can this scale? Can this do what I want it to do? Like, I've only worked with custom developers, custom code, all that stuff. Usually I will just show them some demo projects that I've built in the past, or if it's because sometimes people will come to you and they'll say, hey, I have a specific problem I want to solve like right now. If we can solve this, will help a lot of other things down the line. In those cases, I'll just try to say, hey, let's just get this problem solved right now on this call. And then pretty much, I would say 9 times out of 10, if we get the problem solved on that call, the trust is already built to where they're like, all right, I've already spent 30 minutes to an hour with Cole building with him on this one specific thing, and he, knocks it out of the park. So I think I'm comfortable with him doing these other projects now. That's kind of like the way I approach that kind of.
So you're basically building trust based on real gains, or solving real problems one by one, and hence, the deeper we go, the more trust there is. Okay, that makes
pretty
sense.
much. It's like, hey, I'll solve a problem with you right now. If that's
the power of right now is amazing. Especially with Nocode, I think right now the speed essentially of Nocode, of building with Nocode, is one of its key competitive advantages to other methods of development. So yeah, fully with you on that. And from your experience, I've also seen that you've done coaching / educating, because sometimes it's not just about, okay, Cole, we want to go to the moon, build us a spaceship and take us there. It's also about educating internal champions, internal product champions within that organization, to use Nocode, to build with Nocode. Now, if you could go back and give yourself advice back when you were starting out, what would that be? Starting out in Nocode, actually dabbling, building in Nocode, what would you advise your own self?
I would say learn what CRUD is, just learn what the concept of CRUD is, and learn the main database, I guess, structures, like one-to-many, one-to-one, many-to-many, that kind of stuff. I would learn that would be day one. For me, I guess I'm a very Airtable guy, so I think more about database first, really. That's just that's what I like to do.
So the advice is basically focus on your database design, so to speak.
Yeah, because this is maybe I'm gonna be biased here, but for me, I think database design takes a lot of. It's that's the foundation of the house, The house could have some really nice paint on it that makes it look pretty, like the front end, on the softer glide, whatever you use. But if the concrete that the house is standing on has a bunch of cracks, and eventually oh, in 6 months this thing will break, that is not no bueno. You don't want that. So,
or maybe it's not a matter of breaking. Maybe it's not necessarily a matter of your app, Glide app, software, or whatever. Maybe it's a matter of not having fun later down the line with reporting, because that, generating great reports using something like Google Looker Studio or Power BI or some of these business intelligence tools, it's heavily dependent on on how your database is set up. So if you might have a good time inputting the data and viewing the data, updating the data. I'm going through CRUD, and for the people who are not familiar with the term watching this, create, read, update, delete. It's the 4 functions of a database Cole was referring to earlier. So you might be okay roughly using your app, but later on, due to bad design, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to extrapolate the right data in order for you to kind of go, okay, got a database, we've got user input that is fun and intuitive for the users, and they can see their data, they can interact with it and update it and all of that. Now let's make some decisions based on what is happening in our data. And you usually need some kind of reporting tool for that. So fully agree. It's not just a matter of something breaking, which definitely bad design contributes to breaking.
You have to walk back a lot to get back where you want to get. It's exactly. We have to go back so far now it's because it's we've been building it in this way for so far. We have to walk all the way back to go around, And
it's so much harder. It's so much harder to put in the reverse gear and try to fix an app that has been set up in a wrong
Mm-hmm.
way while the app is being used. It's
Oh
almost
my god.
it's almost like performing open heart surgery while running a marathon.
Mm-hmm. And they're
Um,
getting emails like, "Oh, this person's got an email that has the wrong thing in there." It's like, "Oh man," it's like,
what's your approach in these kinds of projects where you're inheriting an already existing system built by somebody else? Like we've inherited a lot of systems from
mm-hmm.
other no-code experts over the years, and we had to pedal back. What's your approach on tackling these kinds of situations?
So I've gotten a few projects. Actually, I've had like maybe 4 or 5 projects in the past like year where the entire project was just taking like they had hired a person that wasn't necessarily an Airtable expert to build out their entire data system and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
like they had 4 or I think it was like 4 or 5 separate Airtable bases, all connected to each other with like shared like the shared sync spaces and all that stuff, sync tables. But when I got in there, every base only had like 2 or 3 tables. So I was like, well, why are you like why are you guys syncing all these tables and bases together if they're very related info?
Yeah,
But it's like you could probably just put all this in one big base and then maybe even cut some of the fat off of like some of those tables, because some of the tables were like just very redundant. So for that specific project, I told them, hey, let's just build a whole new base. You can still continue using your current bases until
mm-hmm.
we have this new one fully operational. And then we can do like a final sync of the data to make sure it's all still there. But I don't even like to touch what they're working
The
with. I'd like
existing,
to,
yeah.
hey, new clean slate. It'll take elements of the old stuff, but with all without all uh the fat, I guess you could say,
Exactly.
like the redundancies.
Exactly. Dude, fully agree. Uh, in such cases, well, sometimes we are kind of forced to operate with what we have. Maybe the client doesn't necessarily have the budget, or they just want to try the waters with us. So sometimes we have to operate within the confines of that problematic project. We will
Hmm.
voice our grievances
Yep.
with the design, but we are professionals to a degree, not to a degree, screw to a degree, to the nth degree. So we
Hmm.
can jump in and fix stuff within the thing. It's not going to be the most perfectest way of doing things, but at least it will give them a good idea. It's almost like it's the principle that you were referring to earlier. I'm helping you where you are. I'm not,
Hmm.
yes, there is the best case scenario where we kind of build a new version on the sides, the way that it should have been done. But, to fix your micro problem here and to build some trust will help you out where
Hmm.
you are, the way that you're set up. Do you have
I
any?
also think.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say. I also think about the relationship between a client and a no code developer or any like no code consultant professional is a lot like a patient and a doctor, where the patient comes to the doctor and says, "Hey," or like you never see a patient say, "Hey, I need to get my leg chopped off, so you need to chop my leg off right now. I know I need that, so please do it." It's like that never happens. Like the doctor is like, "Hey, well, yeah, let's ask some questions first. Let's qualify that you need your leg chopped off." So like, clients are always like, "Hey, I know what I need, and I need you to do it because I don't know how." And it's like, well, hey, you may think you know what you need, but after some further investigation, you don't actually have to cut your leg off. I found, so let's do it this way. So
Yeah,
that's kind of like that's like a more extreme version, but like that's very. I would say a lot of people experience that.
I
Where
agree.
yeah.
Do you have any personal habits or like practices that have been crucial to your success in no code, other than sticking to great DB design? Is there any other tips that that you feel would be valuable for anybody who's maybe starting out? Because it's great to have your DB all ready and sorted, but is there any other like mantras that you have?
Oh yeah.
Now, before we go any further, I would like to say that we appreciate absolutely every single person who watches this channel, and we're trying to reach a goal of 3,000 subscribers by the end of this year, 2024, December 31st, 2024. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is kind of like a lame target, but we're a small channel. So let's up the ante. If we get 10,000 subscribers by that date, I will say bye-bye to my most precious possession, my beard. Anyway, back to the video.
I guess mantras. I don't know. I'm not a huge, I guess, mantra guy. But for me, I have a lot of like daily things where it's like, all right, I do this every day. You know, I'm a very big like I'm all about habits. I love the book Atomic Habits. So
Oh yeah.
for me, first thing I do when I have my coffee, before emails even, I'll go on product hunt just to see are there new tools hitting the market today that I can use in my stack, stuff like that. Just to always keep updated with the ever-growing ecosystem of Nocode and AI and all these different tools. So that's the first thing is product hunt. That's just like, I mean, it could be, you could replace product hunt with Reddit or any other tool you use to kind of stay updated. But that's one thing is like always staying up to date is one of the biggest things that a person in Nocode can do to like keep that, I guess, level of expertise. Because if you just take a break for like 3 months and you don't touch your computer at all, like you go, hiking the Appalachian Mountains for something like that, there's going to be so many changes to like all these tools where it's like, oh man, I have to play catch up now. I have to learn like this functionality is different now, or that feature works like this now. So I think staying updated is one of the bigger, not struggles, just like
But habits.
Exactly. You just gotta stay on it, exactly. It's like if you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. It's like languages.
True. Okay, that sounds fair. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the future of our work, because technically we're in the same space, and it's evolving. I mean, we had one of the biggest disruptors ever, like generative AI, hit the scene a few years ago. Do you feel like we're gonna need more consultants in the future or less? Like, is generative AI, going to become so good that you can just tell it or like give it all of your emails and it will be able to create a full-fledged software app and database? So essentially, we're going to go consultant-less. And it's going to be more along the lines of us consultants coming into the project later to improve it versus in the beginning. Because I'm sure you and I both like to come in the beginning and build things right.
Mm-hmm.
But do you feel like we're going towards that consultant-less start? Or are we going to need more consultants now that we have this tech?
I think that the tech, it's like there's I guess multiple stages. I think the tech, all generative AI stuff will increase the amount of people who are trying to build stuff. I think it's going to increase the entire user audience like tenfold. And I think with that increase in the audience, that's only going to increase the demand for consultants like you and I. So I don't think it's going to, I do think it'll probably be, there will be like just numbers wise, there will be an increase of people that are more like self-starters, like, hey, I'm going to build the beginning and then bring someone else on later. That like statistically there'll just be more people of that with the growth of all AI stuff. But I think it will not be the majority. If that might make sense.
That does make sense. What about the world of business operations? Like, both you and I have seen hundreds of projects, and if we take a look at it historically, businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, typically like let's say in the 50s, relied heavily on paper. Then we had Excel. We still have Excel. But now we're kind of like ushering. We're like in the sort of beginning of this era of no code, where people understand that Excel is not cutting it anymore. You need a system. Where do you feel like this is going? Is there anything else? What's next on the horizon for business operations?
So I think, like you said, the systems themselves are kind of becoming more of a buzzword, I would say. Just the word system. Like I see so many people talking about like how to build 7-figure systems, how to build like insert figure and then systems, for your business in 30 minutes. Like I see tons of YouTube videos like that. So I think there could be a lot of things. Like I think, oh man, that's a tough question, but I think, what's it called? Operating system. You might see a rise of like full-on operating systems specifically for businesses. So maybe instead of like, hey, here's all your spreadsheets, the AI will just kind of be like, hey, we're going to dictate what we think you need and then not even give you access to it. And we'll just kind of store all the information. That's like super far down the line, I think, what it could look like, where it's basically just you tell the AI what you want, or like, hey, here's new information, or like you connect it to your email or all the different integrations. And then the AI in the background just kind of saying, hey, I'm not going to even give you access to like all this stuff because I know I'm doing it better than you. As like the AI is going to say that.
Oh, that's kind of Skynet sort of crap.
That is. But... I feel like that's like a I guess 10 years, 15, 20 years down the line kind of thing. That's like if it gets to that point. I don't know. That's like I'm just thinking out loud right now. So
okay,
take everything with a grain of salt.
No, for sure. I mean, we're not trying to predict the future.
Yeah.
What part makes you most excited? Because it's all well and dandy to kind of guess what might be coming. What makes you excited, though? What's the good stuff you're looking forward to?
I think I'm really excited to the point where I could, like how Airtable's kind of trying to do with their new assistant AI co-builder. I think we're going to see a lot more stuff like that. And I think that's going to be great for everyone, so a lot more stuff like that where like I think, you could see Softer, like they just launched not just launched, but like they've had their AI generator. Like pretty much everyone's been trying to get an AI generator, like co-builder, I think just to get the hype, keep the hype going. Yeah. And it's like, all right, let's just ship it so we can get the clicks right now. And, we'll make it so that it kind of, it's like an MVP version of that. But I think eventually we'll have a full version where it's like, you can tell this AI is saying, hey, I want a CRM for roofers. It needs to have these specific requirements. And then it actually can get you like, I'd say 50% of the way there. And then all you have to do is kind of customize from that.
Oh, man. You know what? I wish it could ask better questions. Like,
that is one thing, yeah.
In other words, yes, I want a CRM for roofers. But at the same time, I would want it to kind of pause the client and start asking roofer CRM specific questions. Because so much of it is breaking the business down into the roles that exist within it and then into the operations of each role, because that dictates the database design that should be sitting underneath. From my end, I've been seeing a lot of clients who rely heavily on ChatGPT to provide us with like briefs for projects.
Oh, yeah.
And I get a little bit like, not annoyed, but like sad because this makes people lazy.
It does.
They're not looking deep enough into their needs. They just think that, okay, this black box of people that is called developers, which I'm not really sure what they do. They probably sit there with their hoodies on and so like, we are Legion, anonymous. We're not like that. For anybody who's watching this. But bottom line is that they think that we are that we sit on some weird high horse of knowledge, and the only way to communicate with devs, even in no code like us, is okay. I have to talk to ChatGPT so that I, the client, can sound smarter. No, that's my worry, that it's gonna make people lazier. There is a lot of work in discovery. Like there is a lot of need for really good discovery. I think that's where consultants come in, because we can ask really good in-depth questions for that roofer CRM, because we want to understand how the business works right now, where the problems are, and how we can, what kind of solution we can suggest, and occasionally provide, hey, you know what? We've done a similar project in the past, and this thing, Mr. Client, that you're telling us to do, which is like your best version of what you think you need, well, you know, we've done something similar, and we've done it in such a way that makes a lot more sense. Should we try it when we get to it? Yay or nay? But yeah, I think that's the value of consultants when it comes to consulting, because they can X-ray through the business. They can hear your ideas if you have any, even on a piece of paper or a napkin or a papyrus, whatever it is that you write them on. Suggest ideas. Bring ideas from other verticals, because there's so many interesting correlations that you can, or like relationships that you can draw from a airplane, from a private jet broker, that would be relatable to the roofer. Maybe in terms of how the private jet broker does his quoting, some of those practices could apply to the roofer's way of quoting. Now, truth be told, I'm kind of done with my questions. I'm literally looking at my notes, and I feel like I'm finished. We've literally sprinted through this. Do you have any questions for me?
I mean, just to kind of expand on that last point, I do think that AI and ChatGPT has kind of made people think like, oh, I have a problem. First output of ChatGPT is the answer to my problem. That is like, oh, I know how to solve problems, meaning I know how to prompt the ChatGPT. Like that's what some people think, you know, where it's like I was talking to my one friend. I'm teaching him more about Nocode and stuff, and just kind of showing him how I approach certain things and building aspects. And then I was talking to him the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like all I have to do is ask ChatGPT how to build something." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, you could try building it first and then ask." You know, I was like, because I think if you rely only on ChatGPT to tell you how to do everything, it's like then you're gonna not gain that like instinct of, oh, I know how to do this for like a fact. That's like, I don't know, it takes away some of the learning, or like when you learn something because you've struggled through it, that is when you really learn it. When it's like when you've been dealing with a problem or some like error for hours, and then you finally come up with a solution on your own, you know that solution in and out, through and through, like the back of your hand, and you're never gonna mess it up again. Versus when ChatGPT tells you the solution and they may get it right, but you're not going to learn why that solution worked. You're just going to know, oh, okay, I can just prompt ChatGPT for everything to get me out of a tight fix.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the scene. Okay, I'm a millennial, right? So I grew up watching Friends. And there's this scene where Joey gets a thesaurus. And he's like, watch out, ladies. Joey Tribbiani has now got the full package because of the thesaurus. Basically, he can now sound smart. So he got the looks and the swallow, but now he also has got the knowledge. And sometimes ChatGPT reminds me of that scene where people think they've got the full package now, when in reality, you can't really compare ChatGPT's knowledge with the I don't know, 6-7 years of experience of building applications and looking at so many different business verticals. You can't compare it. That is like super shallow versus the experience of some consultant like you, me, who've seen so many different angles of approaching the problem, have seen so many different bad ways of solving the problem, because that's another problem. You have so many different ways to solve the same damn thing. Some of them are efficient, some of them are not efficient, some of them you might even say are elegant ways. But yeah, totally with you.
I mean, have you ever seen like a make scenario and be like, wow, this is a beautiful make scenario? You know, like there are times I'm like, wow, like this is honestly like this could not be more perfect. Like this way this scenario is laid out. Like there are times, or like when I'm like talking to a client and I'm like, we're like watching, I'll like demo like a like preview task, like run task, and then I'll just watch the whole thing. I'm like, I was talking to the client, I'm like, isn't it beautiful? And then they're like, yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Well, they don't know. We know that, dude, this took me like 3 days to crack. It's awesome to see how AI helps with a lot of the make situations, because previously we had to rely on a lot of, routers, logic, this, that, the other, which would make scenarios kind of giant at times. Now with AI, it's almost like you have a very, very, very quick human in the loop who double checks things for you. One thing I'm looking forward to is agentic workflows where we can get AI to double check AI. I've been toying with this the past few weeks, and I've had mixed results. Although I'm not giving up on the idea, but I did have mixed results, especially when it comes to math. Doing math, simple math, even. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm looking forward to in the next couple of years, for us to be able to have better one shot. In other words, like you do a prompt, you get an answer. You don't need to double check it. You can just trust it. Last 2 years, we had massive hallucinations. You had to like spend hours and hours and hours to crafting the perfect prompt. Now, with the best of models that are out there, you don't need to spend hours and hours on the prompt. You could just maybe try it for 2-3 times and you'll get there. It will be good. It will be consistent. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Better models for sure. And also better models when it comes to agentic workflows. Quicker models, because chugging through tokens is important, I think, for this kind of agentic thing, because you have multiple agents that are like checking each other's work, and you also need to do multiple regressions, like loops of those checks. That takes time, and it's all well and good if you can get the client to wait for 30 seconds. But technically every second counts. So chugging through tokens cheaply is important. Now, honestly, do you like have any questions for me, or?
Have you? So I guess talking about agents and stuff. Have you played around with Relevance AI?
I've heard about it. Elaborate.
I've been trying to play around with it. It's very in depth. Like you can really, there's a lot of steps you can do. Like, so you can create full-on teams of agents. You can also create like a standalone agent that you can also call via API just on its own. So it's like you can pretty much create your own just like agent that is its own API, and you call it like via make and stuff, which I thought was amazing. Because so like, I don't know, I just like Relevance, when I was playing around with it, I was like, wow, it has this feature? It has this feature? Like, it was like just a kid in the candy shop moment,
One of my favorite tools that has got a lot of AI functions, kind of like all bunched together, is Respell. I'm sure I've heard of Respell.
So, what's it? Respell.
Respell.ai, something like that. I've done a couple of videos on it for YouTube, and it's a really interesting concept because you can like send it voice notes and it will process them. There's like so many different agents that do certain specific things that are not just text processing, and not the typical like image processing either. So yeah, that's one other sort of interesting thing that I've been looking at.
I would, you know, I think it would be amazing if I could feed a Loom video to an AI. Because,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I know, like, Loom is already eliminating a lot of back and forth communication. But sometimes it'll be a Loom video that's like 30 seconds long, and it's just like, hey, Cole, I need you to do this thing. And it's like, oh, I could, you know, like they could have just texted me, hey, can you do this thing without the Loom video? But sometimes you do need the video just for visual context. So it'd be awesome if I could feed a Loom video to an AI, and the AI is like, can actually watch it and then give me like, hey, here's some, here's what you gotta do, you know?
Well,
That's
I don't think they have an API yet, Loom.
No, they don't. That's why I'm preaching to the choir.
Man, it kind of sucks that they don't have an API, because even if, I mean, technically Gemini can review videos, I believe, right now. I've never tried it. But definitely, if there was an API where I could extrapolate the MP4 of that Loom, I can convert that to audio. I can strip the audio out of it, feed it to something like Whisper, or if you are dabbling with longer stuff, then maybe something like Assembly.ai. We've done some projects recently for podcasts, because podcasts have typically. I think you've even started like a company for that.
There was a side project I launched with a co-founder for. It's a podcast research tool, and yeah, you just feed in the name of the person and then any social media link of that person, and then it'll go out, create a profile about that person, come up with questions you can ask them, and then find their social media, and then also any other podcasts they've been on. It'll put together a list of those.
That's fantastic. Sounds like an interesting little idea. But yeah, for sure. If coming back to Loom, if Loom had an API, boy, oh boy, that would be amazing, because we can just literally extrapolate all the tasks that, at least from the audio, are being described. If they are, yeah, that I'm fully with you on Loom. Fathom is an interesting little tool that has been super, super good lately. And they are kind of doing that already, because Fathom is, for the people that maybe not familiar, it's like a little add-on for Zoom. And like Otter AI and so many other like Zoom helpers, it gives you a transcript of the call. That was like their first thing. Now you can talk to the call. So you've done the call and you're asking, where did John discuss price? At what point did I discuss pricing with John? And it will tell you, oh, you discussed pricing with John at so and so minute. And you click it, and you can see it'll take you to that timestamp. But it also, like super recently, I think this week, they started even giving you action items from the call. And technically, you can hook up Fathom via Zapier to your project management tool, Monday.com, Airtable, whatever, and it will say it. In theory, should save a lot of project managers a lot of time, because at least in our company, our project managers, they have to go back through the call, extract all the action items, put them on Monday, make sure that all the timestamps are there, because devs, when they jump to work on the tasks for the sprint, yes, they don't remember 100% what was said. They need to go back to the call. But now, with this sort of thing, it makes a lot of sense to automate the creation of sprint items.
Mhm.
Dude, I mean, I'm covered from my end. Any other thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that was a great conversation.
It's a great conversation, dude. Thank you so much for taking the time. I enjoyed this immensely.
Yeah.
I would love it if we can do it again next year to see
Totally.
how the industry has progressed. What's new for Mr. Fortman and his business endeavors, including the grilled cheese guy project.
Oh yeah, making a return, grand return.
Absolutely, 100%. And
Mm.
yeah, dude, looking forward to it. It's been awesome.
Mm.
Thank you
Where are
so
you?
much.
What
Oh
time
yeah.
is it for you? Where are you located, by the way?
So we're located. I'm located right now in Cyprus.
Okay.
I used to live in the UK for many years, and only in the last 3-4 years we've moved to Cyprus. Moved the business here. The weather is good. It's a golden cage. It's far away from everything, but it's also far away from everything, the good and the bad.
Yep.
Yeah, can't complain. Can't complain. It's hot,
Cool.
humid, and hot.
Yeah. I'm more of a. I like the cold.
You know what? We're gonna go to the UK for about a month in September, and from there we're also gonna go to Paris to the Nocode
Oh yeah.
thing happening over there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm Cypriot weather. It's kind of like Arizona, but humid. That sort of thing. Super hot, especially
Like
during summer.
Louisiana.
Yeah, hot, humid. In the UK, they call it muggy, where like
Oh
your
yeah, we say that.
t-shirt sticks to you. Sometimes you get out of the car and you can feel it
Yep.
in your palms. Sometimes during like the evening, you can even see this like mist/fog, especially in the coastal areas. It's almost foggy.
Hmm.
That sort of humidity. Whereabouts are you based, Cole?
Chicago,
Oh, Windy City.
Windy City. You know, I like it cold, so you know they keep it cold in Chicago. Generally speaking.
Well, Cole, dude, thank you so much. Really enjoyed talking to you, and looking forward to next year with our catch up.
Likewise. Have a good rest of your day and have a good weekend, Alex.
Awesome. You too, bro. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.